Undisputed pound-for-pound entertainment and ferocious promotions proudly present international boxing agent, broker, and consultant Rick Glaser.
Guys, welcome and happy hump day to all of you. Want to thank you all for joining us in this special presentation with the incomparable and always candid Mr. Rick Glaser. Rick, welcome to the show, sir. Welcome back by popular demand, sir.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to at least 1 hour, maybe more. Let's see what happens.
Very good, very good. I tell you what, and guys, back by popular demand once again. Everyone loved his edition or his special edition of Fact or Fiction, so we made another Fact or Fiction especially for Mr. Rick Glaser. But guys, first, I would like to, we have what's called on a new thing on War Week Radio whenever Rick frequents the show. We have what's now called Twitter Watch, the Rick Glaser Twitter Watch, in which we're going to read one of his tweets, and he's going to expound on it because, well, you just can't get the full Rick Glaser thought process in that minimal amount of characters, right? Hopefully Elon Musk changes that. So here's the first one, guys, on Twitter 13 hours ago, right? He wrote this: doesn't happen very often, but I'm actually looking forward to a PBC fight. Jermell, I'm the twin that has a heart, Charlo, versus Brian Castano for undisputed supremacy at 154 pounds. Saturday night will be even better than their first fight, end quote. So why do you think it's going to be even better than the first fight?
Because even though Jermell is more athletic than Castano, and that normally would favor the more athletic fighter, but I think that Castano was at that high level for the first time, and he knows what it takes to win, and he's got balls down to his ankles, and I think that will propel him into, I'm not saying winning, but at least making an even better fight than the first time.
Indeed. There's a lot to like about both fighters. Both guys show a lot of heart. Both guys have a very high skill level, deep amateur background, very accomplished as professionals. And the odds makers right now, currently, and the odds are starting to widen a little bit, with now Jermell Charlo today listed as a minus 185, Brian Castano listed as a plus 150. Do you think the odds makers have it right here? Do you think it's pretty much an even money contest? Is that why you're looking forward to this?
Yeah, I mean, the first fight proved it. I just think that I give a slight edge in the fight to Charlo because he is a little more athletic. And he's going to have the politics on his side. He's got 3 belts. When you got 3 belts compared to 1, you have the politics on your side.
Well, so, especially when you're somewhat of a virtual unknown to mainstream and casual audiences like the Argentine. I hate to say that, but you know, it's
you may be right about that. But with the gumption that he shows in the ring, I think that should go away about the 4th round in the fight. To be honest, for the fans, I think I think they're going to say, "Wow, look at this guy."
Yeah, and it's a perfect venue to stage this fight. But from a business perspective, Rick, what do you think about the business or the location of this fight? In my opinion, this should have taken place in Jermell's hometown of Houston, Texas. They could have probably come close to filling up the Toyota Center, home of the Houston Rockets. I
think it was going to be pretty tough to get Castano to go there.
Yeah, because of the judging. Texas?
Well, the referee, the judging, the reputation of Texas is not good. So
you don't say.
Even Argentinians know about it.
Hey guys, I want to give a shout out to our brother Toby Bartlett, who's joining us from the UK at 2 a.m. over there, sir. And there it is. Also want to give a shout out to our brother Peter Von Arx. He says, "Good evening, Joseph and Rick. Good evening to you, sir." And he also states, "I have Castano because I don't think Charlo can keep the fight in the center of the ring." Well, according to Coach Ronnie Shields, and we just spoke to him yesterday, Jermell's very proficient and has no problem fighting off the ropes. In fact, in the first fight, in round number 2, he caught him with a check left hook as he was trying to close the distance on the ropes. Do you remember that, Big Rick?
You know, I don't remember that particular. I watched so many fights that
Of
I
course.
don't remember that particular. But all I know was it was an excellent fight, and that's why we're doing it again. It was a draw, and it's a fight that probably deserve a third fight when this is over with. So it might turn into a trilogy.
Yep. Now, right now, if you want to bet on a draw, it's at a plus 1,800, a plus 1,800. Would you actually, if you were actually a handicapper, would you actually advise your customers to bet on a Charlo decision hedged by a draw?
I don't know. I'd have to think about it, but I mean, listen, both guys could be on the deck and get knocked out. Doesn't figure, but it's a fight. You don't know what's going to happen. It was that close the first time.
Yeah, you know what? There's a lot to like about Brian Castano. Deep amateur background. He's only 5'7", but man, he is very, very good at applying that hard, consistent pressure from start to finish. He actually has a decent defense for being that kind of pressure fighter. Very fast hands, deceptively fast hands. But Charlo, he's got that championship experience. He can pretty much do it all in the ring. He's got so many weapons because of his athleticism, like you pointed out. I love this fight, and I'm not even going to make my prediction until I see the weigh-in, because there are rumors that both men are weight drained. There's a rumor that Brian Castano ballooned up to 200 pounds before in between fights.
Most South Americans do, actually. So I'm not surprised at all.
Yeah. And there's a rumor also that Jermell Charlo has outgrown the division. And this will be his last fight at 54.
I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that at all either.
Makes the fight even that much more interesting, guys. It's going down this Saturday night at Showtime from Carson, California. Coach Ronnie, as well as Jermell's brother, is going to be in attendance. Also want to give a shout out to, and Toby Bartlett said, yep, 2 a.m. here, Joe. Thank you for joining us, sir. Ain't going to be a draw in Texas with Charlo. John McSmith, thank you for joining us. Says, salute Joe and Big Rick Glaser. Salute to you, my friend. Peter Von Ark says, Toby Bartlett, the fight is in Carson, California. Okay, and now we're going to tweet number 2 in the Rick Glaser Twitter watch. He says, quote, past it, Chris Areola rumored to be fighting again in August. He's now 41. Let this guy retire already. A shame not to let him retire. Thinks he's retired. Then Heyman comes calling with another offer as Areola's cannon fodder for a few dollars and someone's resume, end quote. First of all, Rick, do you have any idea who they're entertaining the idea of sticking him in the ring with?
But it'll probably be get him a win and then put him in with a bigger name. I mean, that's been the motive of Chris Areola for years now.
Yeah.
Get him a win and then throw him in with a lion. And he's 41 years old. He hasn't won a significant fight in years.
Well,
years?
Yep, you're absolutely right. So what do you think of the prospect of a retirement match? And because, once again, it was a Fight of the Year candidate when they played this back several years ago, Adam Kawanoski versus Chris Areola.
Yeah, another guy that's, walking on eggshells right now. I don't know. It's just, his Adam's manager's a friend of mine. We're going to see what he's got left coming up this summer. He's going to fight again, but who knows? Took a lot of shots in those last 2 fights, and some people just, the head's not made for taking shots off of in volume like that.
Yeah, what did you think when they actually paired him up against the Nordic Nightmare, Robert Hellenius? I thought that was a terrible style matchup when they made it.
But, we can say that after the fact. Going in, the Nordic Nightmare hadn't won a fight in a while.
Yeah.
And he got clipped, and he got stood there and he was taking punishment. He wasn't moving his head, and that's the way it is. Now, the big question is should they have done the rematch after what they saw the first time? That's the real question.
Yeah, boy. Oof. You know what? And you would think they would actually treat their ticket sellers better. Adam Kawanoski is a big ticket seller in the New Jersey, the tri-state area.
Yeah, he is, but when you're paying a guy that kind of money, you're a main event on Showtime. You got to fight somebody. You can't, you can't fight your sister-in-law.
That is true. That is true. I want to give a shout out to brother Bruce Gas, Boxing, Jazz, and More. Salute Joseph and Rick. Salute to you, my friend. If you haven't already subscribed to Bruce Gas, Boxing, Jazz, and More, please do so at this time. Very good stuff going on at that channel. So now we're going to start. Rick, fact or fiction, are you ready? Once again, the rules for fact or fiction. I'm going to read off a prediction. You tell me whether or not you think it's going to be fact or fiction, and you please tell us why. Are you ready, sir?
I was born ready. Again, it got better from there.
Number one, only a select few diehard fans will purchase a Mayweather Moore NFT to watch the Dubai exhibition this Saturday. Fact or fiction?
Fact. Why so many?
Oh, geez.
It's just another Mayweather money grab. So that's all it is. The other guy hasn't fought in years, was never a real fight. It's not even a fight, it's an exhibition.
Yep.
Come on, please. If you're gonna buy it to look at Dubai from the roof of a high building in Dubai, then that's the reason why you should buy it, not to watch Floyd go through an exhibition of a guy, that was never a good fighter.
Yeah. Well, this is what Floyd had to say about this earlier today. He said, quote, they always say the sky's the limit. Well, I feel like I'm pushing the limit in entertainment world once again, going up and literally fighting in the sky. These are the kind of opportunities that I'm always going to jump at. I've known Don Moore for a long time, and I know that he's a very smart fighter who I can't take lightly. I believe that he's coming to prove something in this fight. On top of this fight, being at a one-of-a-kind venue, you're going to see a guy coming in to take a shot at the best ever. End quote. Does anyone believe this crap anymore, Rick?
They shouldn't. They shouldn't.
We want to thank our brother, Nicholas Barra, for joining us. And he has a question for you, Rick. He says, Rick, do you think Castaño is going to get a fair shake this weekend against Charlo, or will they rob him again?
Oh, I think he answered his own question.
Once again, we like to say on the show, if you're asking the question, you already know the answer. And there it is. Thank you for joining us, Nicholas. John McSmith says, well, that's why they call him money. Oh, geez. Also, want to give a shout out to our brother Antonio Luna. Thank you for joining us. Says Mayweather is making sound like it's an actual fight.
I know that's the fraud part about it. Just go there and say, hey, I'm in Dubai. I'm going to do an exhibition. My skills. And you're there to see Floyd and my skills. You're not there to see a fight. That's what he should just say. Be truthful. Don't lie. Don't con people. I hate cons.
Well, the worst part about this is, and after the fight at the post-fight press conference, he's going to finally disclose the truth and say, yeah, you know what? This was a bank robbery with no mask. You already know it. So number two, Rick, here we go. On to actually some real boxing. Ryan Garcia will face Gervonta Tank Davis instead of Esau Cruz on DAZN later this year.
What was that? Repeat the question, please.
Very good. Number two, fact or fiction, Ryan Garcia will face Gervonta Tank Davis instead of Esau Cruz on DAZN later this year.
No, he'll end up fighting Esau Cruz next. I believe so. If they've got the order from the WBC, I think they'll do the fight.
The WBC, who do you think would win this purse bid? I mean, because Tank Davis.
I don't know. I think DAZN. Well, what's Tank Davis got to do with it?
No, I'm sorry. Tank Davis is going to be a free agent, more than likely. From what I've been told after.
Right. What do I think? I think that DAZN is capable. Oscar with DAZN's backing, and DAZN really likes Ryan Garcia a lot. So I think that they're capable of winning the purse bid.
Yep. I agree, especially with the new $4 billion dump within the budget of DAZN most recently. Yeah, I agree with you, Big Rick. I want to give a shout out to our brother Big Luke. He says, if Floyd and Rick are on the show, the Bobinator must make an appearance. He may make one later. Thank you for joining us, Luke. Luke from New York. Let's see. Number 3, Rick. Errol Spence Jr. will not face Terrence Crawford later this year, but will finally get to face a near 43-year-old Manny Pacquiao instead. Fact or fiction?
I don't know. I want to decline the answer. He won't be fighting Terrence Crawford. That I'll tell you.
But will he make a comeback after losing, coming in third in the national election of the Philippines?
I think he might make a comeback, but I don't see how they can sell Spence and Pacquiao after Pacquiao just got beat by Ugas, and then Ugas got destroyed by Spence. And not only that, Spence didn't do any pay-per-views with Ugas. So I don't know where's this money coming from.
Yeah, it's you know what? Let's just hope he doesn't come back and Alexis stay retired. But there is a rumor that after spending tens of millions of dollars on his election from his personal proceeds, he's going to have to come back out of necessity, Rick.
I don't know.
And
I don't want to comment on somebody's personal finances when I don't know anything about it.
Of course.
But I will say what you say makes sense, but there's nothing to substantiate that in reality.
Indeed. Oh no. Please say it isn't so. Our brother Jay Funky joins us. Please go subscribe to his channel if you haven't already. He says Pacquiao is more likely than Crawford.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah,
Wow.
Spence isn't fighting Crawford. Everybody needs to get that out of their head. Not at least this year, especially after drawing 129,000 homes, because that's what the real number was. There you go.
Oh, geez, and there it is, Big Rick. Well, Peter Von Ark seems to think it's fact. You know what? Very well may. And Rick is doing the right thing by not wanting to comment on that because it's a very delicate subject, honestly. I hope it isn't. But want to thank Hyphy for visiting the show. He says, Rick, is DAZN heavily pursuing Golden Boy? Because without the Golden Boy roster, DAZN boxing in America is dead?
100%.
Wow. Well, I tell you
Hyphy,
what.
I don't know Hyphy, but he's spot on.
And there you go. Very good question, Hyphy. Let's move to number 4.
Hyphy needs to change his name to something like intelligent or something like that, because that was a great comment that he made.
Indeed. Let's move to number 4, a fact or fiction. Are you ready, Rick?
Yep.
Canelo Alvarez will face both Jermall Charlo and David Benavidez in 2023. Fact or fiction?
Fiction.
How do you think he fares, though, against Jermall and David Benavidez?
Who, Canelo?
Yep.
Canelo destroys Charlo early, and Benavidez is a good fight for a while, but Benavidez gets wore down.
Indeed. So what did you think of this Bivol fight this past Saturday night? Were you a bit surprised at the outcome? And where do both fighters go from here?
Everybody was surprised at the outcome. But really what won 9 out of 10 times when two fighters are at a top level, the guy with the faster feet wins.
Yep.
And the guy with the faster feet won.
Indeed. So where do both fighters go from here, Rick, in your opinion?
Well, I think Canelo would be really stupid to do a rematch no matter what the weight is. I think he should go back to the idea of fighting GGG and then at 168 and then fight I'm trying to think of his name, the Brit that they're talking about.
John Ryder.
John Ryder, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And there it is. And there it is. So where does Bivol go from here? Do you think he fights Zurdo Ramirez later this year?
Well, that would make a lot of sense. They're both on the zone, so it cuts a lot of the red tape issues out in the politics of it. They're both on the zone. He's Mexican, so I would think that would be a much bigger draw in America fighting Bivol than just Bivol fighting somebody else. Of course, besides Canelo, I'm talking about. So I would think him and Zurdo Ramirez is a natural match for the zone.
Do you have any idea why Gilberto Ramirez ended up leaving Top Rank and trying to make it on his own steam in his own promotional entity?
He actually had the ill-gotten thought that he was underpaid by Top Rank, which was totally in his mind only.
Yeah, he's never been a big ticket seller, Rick.
No, he's not a big attraction, but he can fight. And sometimes he actually makes good fights. He's making better fights at 75 than he did 68.
Agreed on those points. Let's hope that his level of attraction starts to increase under DAZN and Golden Boy Promotions.
Well,
by the way, go ahead, sir.
I think that if Gilberto Ramirez was to fight Bivol and take that challenge, and the guy who beat Canelo, I think a whole country of people would get behind him. Now, if Bivol wouldn't have beat Canelo, if they would never fought, and let's say we're just fighting Zurdo Ramirez, it doesn't mean a whole hell of a lot. Now it means a lot to the people, the Mexicans in America and the Mexicans in Mexico.
That is a great matchmaking angle, Rick. Been in this business for 4 decades. It shows. Want to give a shout out to our brother Tarian Falk. Thank you for joining us. He has a question for you, Rick. He says, Rick, does Tank Davis sign with Top Rank Matchroom, or does he move to TGB?
TGB and Mayweather are the same thing. They're just subsidiaries of Heyman. So that doesn't mean anything. Does he go to Top Rank or Matchroom? Great possibility.
Yep. Depending on the matchups he wants.
It depends on how much money that he wants. That's what it is. Who's willing to pay the most amount of money,
So can you see him eventually fighting the winner of Devin Haney versus George Kambosos, or possibly signing with Top Rank and facing Vasyl Lomachenko if he comes back sooner rather than later on an ESPN Plus pay-per-view?
It's too speculative.
Or
we don't even know if he's going to leave. We don't know anything. We don't know who's behind.
We
don't know who's behind this. We don't know who the driving force behind this is. We don't know if he's acting on his own. We don't know if he's got an attorney. We don't know anything. It's too speculative.
Yep. So I was gonna throw that out at you. Do you think what is the probability that he actually stays with Mayweather Promotions and Al Heyman?
It's good because, Al will sit down with him and say, you got to stay with Floyd. He got you here, and I'll give you some more money to stay. Showtime will give you some more money to stay, and they're going to try every angle on this guy. And the guy's not exactly a rocket scientist. You don't get arrested that many times. You don't get arrested that many times for bullshit if you've got any brains at all. So there's your answer right there.
I love your candor, Rick. Number 5, fact or fiction. Terrence Crawford will end up defending his WBO title against Jaron Boots Ennis later this year instead of Errol Spence Jr. Fact or fiction?
I don't think so. I don't see that happening.
Who would you favor?
I don't think that Cameron Duncan, his go-to guy, I don't know, he's the manager, the promoter. I don't know. Cameron is who knows what he is with this situation, but I can't see him taking that chance. That's his meal ticket, and I can't see him taking that chance right now, especially with him getting all those Showtime dates and everything, fighting on Showtime, getting a lot of money to fight just regular guys. I just can't see them taking that chance.
So do you think Cameron Duncan, and officially he's listed as his promoter, but come on, he's a glorified manager who can deal with the networks directly now because of his promotional license. So, do you think they actually wait for Errol Spence Jr. and Terrence Crawford to vacate when they move up in weight? It's seemingly imminent. Do you think they wait to fight for one of the vacant titles? Do you think that's the plan?
I don't know what the plan is, but I don't see him fighting Crawford. I could see him fighting Spence. From the Ennis standpoint, I don't think Spence will fight.
And there you have it. There you have it. Peter Von Ark says, fiction. It'll be Keith. And Keith one-time Thurman. Satorian Falk adds, Rick, Tank would be a fool to stay with Heyman. They made him turn down $7 million payday to fight Tevin Farmer. I don't know where you're getting that. Have you heard anything about that?
No,
I haven't either.
And I don't remember that. I know that Eddie Hearn was dangling money out there, but it was not. I don't believe the figure. I don't remember the figure ever being $7 million. Why would you have to pay? Why would you have to pay anybody $7 million to fight Devin Haney? You're either going to fight him or you're not.
Well, keep in mind they did pay $10 million for the overall guaranteed purse for Jesse Vargas, Ricky Garcia, as well as $10 million.
$9.7 million, $7 million and 2.7. I get it.
Yeah, as well as almost $10 million for Danny Jacobs, Chavez Jr.
It actually was more than that, I heard.
Oh, boy. That doesn't surprise me one bit, Rick. But since they have changed their business strategy, and it seems to be working out for them in 2022. So we'll see how the year.
Yeah, they put a governor on Eddie's spending is what they did.
Yep, that's it. Number 6, Rick. Brian Castano will get knocked out in the mid to late rounds this Saturday at the hands of Iron Man Jermell Charlo. Fact or fiction?
I don't know. I don't see that happening, but could happen. Just don't see it.
And there it is. We'll move on to number 7. Canelo will activate his rematch clause and get KO'd by Bivol in September. Fact or fiction?
It's fiction. He won't get KO'd. I mean, he might activate his rematch clause, but he's not going to get KO'd.
Well, according to our brother, Joel Diaz, great guy, he seems to think that, if he is foolish enough and he lets pride sit in and he activates his rematch clause, the second fight will be much, much worse for Canelo Alvarez. Do you agree with what he's saying?
No.
And there it is. Number 8, Rick. Sergey Kovalev will produce worse pay-per-view numbers this Saturday than Clarissa Shields on Triller and Fight TV. Fact or fiction?
Yeah, nobody cares. Yeah, he's fighting the guy. He's fighting the guy from Bulgaria. Yeah, nobody cares. Yeah, that doesn't do anything, that fight. Yeah,
that's terrible. So, what's your prediction for the pay-per-view revenue or a pay-per-view?
I don't know.
$29.99.
It's what?
$29.99.
It's a flop. It does under 50,000.
Wow, I'm surprised you're actually giving it that much.
Well, under.
Okay, I'm saying under 10,000.
Yeah. I hope for boxing's sake it does better than that. Jesus.
Yeah, well, I hope for Kathy Duva's sake it does. Jeez. Number 9. Well, this is a Kathy Duva promotion, isn't it?
No. Thriller's doing their own show.
Thriller's just doing their own show.
Yeah, they're using her fighter.
Oh, okay. Very good. Very good. Number 9. Zurdo Ramirez will break Mayweather's 50-0 milestone and no one will care. Fact or fiction?
Yeah, he's got the possibilities of breaking it, but I don't think he does. But I think people, if he broke it, Mayweather's got enough haters, enough people will care that he breaks it. It might make Zurdo Ramirez popular.
You know what? I wouldn't doubt. I wouldn't mind that one bit, because Gilberto Ramirez is he's a funny guy. Now that he knows a lot more English, he actually is a really funny guy, good looking guy, entertaining fight style, like you said. That's moving up to 175. Yeah, I would really like to see him as one of the premier ambassadors of the sport.
Yeah, it would be nice.
And and he's only 31. Most people don't realize that. So, last one of Fact or Fiction, Big Rick. Number 10. Terrence Crawford is Rick Glaser's new pound-for-pound fighter after Bivol's victory this Saturday night. Fact or fiction?
100%.
And there it is. You survived Fact or Fiction, Rick.
I'm supposed to.
So, guys, at this time, we'd like to take a break, and a 45-second break to be exact, and hear from one of our sponsors of this show.
With over 20 years of experience, Halftime Pizza is serving true, authentic, hand-tossed pizza with the freshest ingredients, offering online ordering for takeout or delivery. Better yet, experience our family-friendly spot for sports, wall-to-wall TVs, and surround sound. Not a bad seat in the house. Serving both lunch and dinner. You're sure to find something for everybody's taste. A great selection of your domestic beers and some unique craft drafts. From cold beer, crisp salads, our famous pizza rolls to pizza and wings. We have it all. Halftime Pizza, with 2 locations to serve you. 7126 Tesla Road and 7531 Bandera Road. Anytime is a great time for Halftime Pizza.
We want to thank Halftime Pizza for being a big sponsor for this Saturday's Ferocious Amateur Championships at the Second Baptist Church in San Antonio, Texas. And once again, guys, if you're in the South Texas area and you want to visit, say hi. I'm going to be doing the emceeing of the event and the ring announcing. It's going to be taking place this Saturday at 2 p.m. Doors open at 1 at the Second Baptist Church, located at 3310 East Commerce Street, San Antonio, Texas, 78220. And once again, we want to thank Halftime Pizza of San Antonio, Texas, 2 locations. We want to thank them for being a major sponsor and supporting USA Boxing and the amateur boxing program in San Antonio, Texas. So, Rick, do you enjoy still going out to these amateur shows?
I don't go out to any of them.
Oh, that's a darn shame. You used to, right?
The reason why is because every time I show up, even though I don't manage any fighters, they don't understand what I do in boxing, so they all thinking I'm trying to steal their fighter. These amateur trainers and coaches, and I have no interest at all. They're just not in reality. They don't get it. But I just don't go. If I go once every 3 years to 4 years to a show, amateur show, it's a lot.
Indeed. And if anyone is interested in giving a donation or sponsoring, being a sponsor of the Ferocious Amateur Program, you can send it to $War a Week on Cash App.
Mm-hmm. And the last time I was at an amateur show was, I believe it was Saturday, October 19th, 2019, pre-COVID.
And there it is.
How long ago that was.
Wow. We have a question from John McSmith. Rick, he says, Fury, Usyk, AJ aside, who are the top heavyweights in your mind?
Nobody else. That's it.
Yeah. Well, who do you see in the future coming up? Do you like Bahadir Jalolov? Do you like Philippe Ergovich?
Oh, yeah. I like Jalolov. I like him a lot. I saw him live in Dubai. He's a very good fighter. He's a very good fighter. He's a complete fighter. Yep.
He's going to be a monster. He's got middleweight skills, heavyweight punch, heavyweight chin, heavyweight size. Yeah, he's going to be a handful for everyone. Also, our brother Ronnie Shields just took over training duties for Philippe Ergovich. So I look forward to seeing him.
Who's the fighter?
Philippe Ergovich.
Oh, Volvic? Oh, yeah.
How do you pronounce his last name?
Volvic.
I thought it was Hergovich. The gentleman who just dropped out of Zhili Zhang fight?
Yeah, I always thought it was I supplied a lot of sparring partners. Yet people around him.
Yep.
Pavovic, they were pronouncing it, but
Okay. Very
maybe
good.
they're wrong.
No, I'm sure I'm wrong. I'm always looking to try and pronounce everything properly, Big Rick. So, I tell you what, it's interesting though. So let's go back to Canelo versus Bivol, Rick. What were your thoughts on the judges at ringside scoring all three of them, scoring the first 4 rounds for Canelo?
Well, I had it 3-1 for Canelo after 4.
So yeah, you were right there.
I thought Canelo won 5 rounds. Thought he won first 3 out of 4. He won the 9th round, and I was trying to think of the other round he won, but I remember I scored it for 5. I just don't remember what round it was, but I scored it for 5 rounds, 7-5.
So you saw it just like the judges at ringside.
Yeah,
so.
I just came to I came to the same conclusion, but different rounds.
So what do you think of most fans actually screaming, well, attempted robbery?
I don't know where the robbery was. Most people in the business, of boxing thought it was a 7-5 fight. There was no deductions. It was not rocket scientistry. I don't know what some of these people are watching. Everybody goes by punch output. Mm-hmm. What about the velocity of the punches that when Canelo was landing, they were a lot harder. Don't forget that a lot of the punches, what's his name, threw Bivol were jabs. Yeah,
of course.
And Canelo was winging hooks to the head and hooks to the body and a straight right hands, and that counts for a lot. Power punches count for a lot over jabs, and in scoring a fight professionally.
Yep, I made that same explanation a couple days ago on the show, Rick. Once again, I've never been a conspiracy theorist, and have often been I found myself being a somewhat of a boxing apologist to guys like Areola.
Can I interrupt you? Go for a second? If there was a conspiracy, they would have found a way to at least call it a draw, and they never did. So there's your answer right there.
And there it is. It makes sense. Thank you for your explanation, Rick. Appreciate it. Here's now looking forward to this Saturday night show in Carson. One, I'm really looking forward to the main event, but I'm also looking forward to seeing Jaron Boots and face a very awkward and crafty guy in Custio Clayton. Do you have any scouting report on Custio Clayton from Canada?
I've seen him before. He's just a guy. That's all. He's just a guy. I think if Boots can't dispatch of him, I mean, he's not ready for the Crawfords and the Spencers. Let's put it that way. For surely not ready.
Indeed. Well, when asked, Brian Castano, about the crowd and what if they're all in favor of Jermell Charlo, he said this: "Look, the crowd really isn't a factor for me." Quote, said, "While I appreciate the support, it's all about me and him inside the ring. And I promise you, I'm going to make him pay for everything that he said and everything that happened in the first fight. I'm going to break him and I'm going to make him suffer. And that's all that matters. It doesn't matter if it's in front of 1, 2, or 300 or 20,000 people. What I have my sights set on him and only him. Me and him inside the ring. That's all." End quote.
I don't think there's going to be that many people cheering for Jermell in Carson, California. I don't see that.
And especially when a lot of fans thought that Brian Castano got robbed. You think most fight fans in attendance are going to be sympathetic in Southern California for the Argentine? Of
course. Absolutely.
Very good. Very good. I tell you what, it's going to be an excellent fight. Want to give a shout out to our brother, Jonathan Simon. Hey, Joseph and Mr. Rick. Hey there, brother. Thank you for stopping by. Peter Von Ark says Bivol was snapping Canelo's head back with those jabs.
Yeah, sure he was, but there's still jabs, and everybody realized that nobody gets knocked out with a jab except Lorenzo Zanone versus Larry Holmes in 1978. For Christ's sakes, come on.
Yeah, but that was the Holmes hammer. Boy, Larry Holmes was something else. I'm Let me ask you something, Rick. Now you're a big proponent of Tyson Fury. How do you think that matchup in a perfect world, in a mythical matchup, prime for prime, Larry Holmes versus Tyson Fury, how does that fight play out in your mind?
You mean if Larry Holmes is fighting today and weighed 250 pounds?
Well,
No, I don't mean being fat, but he would be taller and bigger because it's 44 years later.
Of course.
I would think that it would be an even fight. I wouldn't know who to pick.
Oh, that's a great matchup. Great matchup. And let me ask you something. Do you see anything on the landscape that is a serious threat to Tyson Fury should he actually come out of retirement and come back to boxing?
He's not retired. When the WBC strips him, then he's retired. Then it's official. It means nothing what he's saying. The WBC has stripped him. When the WBC strips him, then it's official. Trust me. What do I think? Usak's the only guy that can challenge him, and I don't think Usak's a good enough heavyweight and big enough to handle Fury. And don't forget, Fury can match Usak's brains, and Fury has a better jab. So I think that I don't think Usyk would beat Fury. That he's the real deal. I mean, let's face it. He doesn't look like a fighter. His body's atrocious. The guy's knock-kneed for Christ's sakes, but it's guy can fight his ass off. Guy's brilliant in there.
Yep, he sure is. He sure is. Now, Funkrates, want to welcome him to the show. Welcome, sir. He says, "Hey, Joseph. Hey, Rick. Good evening. I have a question for Rick. Canelo didn't make it into double-digit punches landed, except for one round. So how many jabs equal a power shot?"
That's very subjective. It's a great question. It's very subjective. But a good power shot to the body is going to equal like 4 to 5 jabs, believe it or not. I mean, that's just the way they score. That's what reality is, And, remember something. A lot of the rounds that Canelo didn't win, he didn't land a lot of power punches, very few. But when he did win rounds, he did land power punches.
Yeah, so, keep in mind, guys, fight is scored on a round-by-round basis. So box does not tell, any of the story, really. Every judge is mentored when they're coming up and they're judging in the amateur, then the pros, when they're being mentored by the state athletic commissions. They're taught to score every round as it's each individual fight, right? So there's
a line back from when it was they were 15 round fights. He says, "How'd you score the fight?" How'd you score the fight? The guy says, "I scored 15." An old time judge says, "I scored 15 rounds individually."
That's it.
That was his answer. That's the right answer. That's the right answer.
Yep, that's it, guys. And once again, Rick, has it been your experience that some of these judges that don't get the big assignments, one of the reasons why they make the process a lot more difficult than it has to be, and they try to come up with their own method of scoring this? I talk to a lot of judges. I usually keep it to myself, and I'm not gonna name names, but do you think that these guys make the process a lot more difficult than it has to be?
I think more than that, it's the inconsistency of some judges don't get them the big assignments.
Yep.
They're all over the board.
And guys, if you notice, the 3 that got the assignment this past Saturday, Steve Weisfeld, Tim Cheatam, and Dave Morretti, they're 3 of the most consistent judges in boxing. And more than likely, you're going to see 2 of these 3 judges get the main event assignment in Carson, California this Saturday. Don't be surprised if it's Tim Cheatam and Steve Weisfeld, with maybe Max DeLuca because he's from California, right? So going back to Ryan Garcia versus Esau Cruz, it was ordered today by the WBC, and if they can't make an agreement, agree to terms voluntarily, then it gets forced to purse bid on June 14th. Do you see this going to purse bid, Big Rick?
100%.
Who do you see winning it? You already stated DAZN, Golden Boy, right?
Well, yeah, they can win whether they don't or not. They do or not, I don't know. I don't know how much Esau Cruz means to them protecting him, but of course they would want Ryan Garcia on Showtime because he's an attraction.
Mm. So Cruz said, you know what? I don't care who I fight, whether it's Garcia, Valenzuela, Lomachenko, Haney, Kambosos, bring them all on. You know, what is there to like about Esau Cruz, and how high is his ceiling at 35?
He's an exciting little fighter, but he doesn't speak any English, so I don't know how much his ceiling will be. Not much, without speaking a lot of him. He's not Julio Cesar Chavez, where he's a national hero in Mexico.
Yep.
People don't even know him in Mexico.
Yep.
He's just a guy. He's a good, hard-nosed fighter, makes good fights. That's what he is. He's not a big attraction. He's just what he is. You know, I think we saw the best of him with Tank Davis.
Yep. So if you had your matchmaking prowess, who would you prefer to see him at 35? Who would you prefer to see him with?
I think him and Kambosos would make a great fight because they'd both be right in front of you. There's nothing slick about Kambosos. There's nothing slick about Cruz, and it'll be a great fight, but it won't happen. So we don't have to worry about it.
Hyphy has another question for you, Rick. He says this: promotional company Boxer recently signed 4 out of the 6 UK Olympic medalists. Will they overthrow Matchroom within the next 5 years?
It's capable. They've got Sky TV. They're capable of doing so. Not saying they will, they won't, because I don't know that, but they're very capable of doing that. Yes.
So, Rick, going back to this past Saturday night, what did you think of DAZN's decision to pay Canelo Alvarez $53 million and attach a huge pay-per-view price point to the already, hefty subscription price for DAZN?
They have no choice, but they got to keep up with the times. I mean, their original thing was, when they first went into business 4.5 years ago, was no more pay-per-view. But that's caught up with them. They've got to have pay-per-view. To be able to pay Canelo those kind of purses, just like to pay Fury those kind of purses, ESPN's got to have a ESPN Plus pay-per-view, like they did with the White fight. I just feel that certain fights have to go on pay-per-view still. I mean, I don't care how strong the apps are. I'm a big proponent of apps, but you can only get so many people to watch an app. You got to have pay-per-view. You don't have any choice in these big fights.
Yep. Very good. If you have any more questions for Mr. Rick Glaser, please let him fire. I want to give a shout out to our brother, Andrew Charles. Salute to you, my friend. Thank you for joining us. It's funny. Like, I spoke to Sugar, Javen Sugar Hill Stewart, Tyson Fury's trainer. And when asked once again if Tyson Fury was serious about retiring, he said, you know what? That's up to him. You got to ask him. No one's, he said, I will say this. At this juncture of his career, no one is going to tell him what to do.
That's right. That's what Frank Warren said, and I agree. He's got the FY money, and and then he, nobody's going to tell him what to do. Bob Arum will present him with offers and ideas, and if he wants to take him, he'll take him. If not, he won't. And when he'll only get stripped when his mandatory is due. And he doesn't accept the mandatory, and he said, I'm retired, then they'll strip him. But they're going to wait it out.
Well, it's funny. TalkSport recently caught up to former WBC title holder Berman Stivern, the guy who lost to Deontay Wilder twice. Let me get your thoughts on this, Rick. According to him, he said the only fight that's left for Deontay Wilder to do money-wise would be Anthony Joshua. Other than that, I don't think there's any other fight that would be relevant for him. Also, that depends on how Joshua comes back. If he comes back and beats Usyk, then it's worth it. If not, it's not worth it. Well, he said, then I take that back. It would be worth it because both men would be coming from a loss. So it makes it very interesting. End quote.
The difference is Wilder was destroyed over 19 rounds and was face planted in his last fight. Got stopped both times. Was face. But we don't know what Wilder's got left, if anything at all. And Joshua was not face planted. He lost a decision. There's a big mental difference right there.
Yep, indeed.
The two fighters.
John McSmith says FY money. And there it is. So how do you think Anthony Joshua fares in his rematch with Alexander Usyk? And what do you think of his choice of trainer in Angel Fernandez?
I didn't know Angel Fernandez was that capable.
Yep.
Number one. Number two is what's going to change? What's going to change?
Yep. That's it. That's it entirely. Funker T says, what Joshua loses to Usyk again, would saying that Fury is ducking the little steroid man get him to come out of retirement to show he still has his huevos?
Who's the little steroid man?
He's referring to Alexander Usyk.
I don't know. I never knew he was on steroids, but okay. Whatever.
Oh, boy. So where do you think Alexander Usyk, do you even like making pound-for-pound lists, Rick? Because honestly, I can't stand it. It's a mythical list that doesn't mean anything, and it's impossible to prove.
100%, but it's entertaining. And it's great for in between big fights when they're a month apart and there's nothing to do for a couple of weeks. It's a good time to have It's good for cannon fodder. Good for jokes, good shits and giggles.
And there it is. I still don't understand why fans take it so seriously, but it is what it is. Funkrotes explains, well, little steroid man, that's what Fury calls him. That sounds like him. Oh, geez. So, Rick, is there anything that you'd like to promote that you're what's new in the life of Rick Glaser? Is there anything that you'd like to promote or add or advertise while you're on this show?
I'm working with a real good fighter from Canada. He's 2-0 with 2 second-round knockouts in his first 2 fights. He's 22 years old. His name is Spencer Wilcox. He's from a city that's a suburb of Toronto called Hamilton, Ontario, which is a city in itself. It's not a small place, but it's they call the whole area the GTA, Greater Toronto Area. And I'm working with him. His next fight is June 2nd in Montreal, and then that's his 3rd fight, and his 4th fight will be July 29th in Montreal. He had 1 fight in Montreal, 1 in Toronto so far, and it's a good little fighter. He was 40-8 in national and international competition, not the regular fights, just the big fights in the amateurs. And he won a world tournament over in the UK. And he can fight. He's 135 pounders. He's a huge 35 pounder. He sort of reminds me of looks and size like Oscar De La Hoya was when he weighed 35. He's 5'10" and right-handed. Boxer, puncher, and he's got muscles on top of muscles, and that's pretty rare for a 35 pounder that's 5'10".
Is he signed with anyone yet, promotional wise?
Yeah, he's with Probellum.
Oh, he's from Probellum. He's with Probellum. Very good.
I'm his advisor, and it's good. It's going to be. I think it's going to be a good long haul for him. I think he's a really good fighter. He's one of a bunch of brothers that fight. I think there's 4 of them. There's a 15. Yeah, there's 4 of them. There's a good solid 40-pound brother that's 24-3, I think. There's one brother that's in the same weight class as him who's 9-0, who's not a bad fighter, decent, but not like this guy. And then there's another brother who's 15-0-2 that's a 54-pounder. So the Wilcox, fighting Wilcox brothers. So it's going to be interesting. I think he's the best of the lot, and I think he can go a long way in the pros. I see a lot of great things in him that are really keen at an early age. Where he's very cagey in the first round, feels the guy out in the second round, he goes to work on him. So I like that in a fighter where he just doesn't charge across the ring and start throwing punches recklessly without thinking first. So I like that. He's a thinking fighter. I like that.
Indeed. Hyphy has another question for you, Rick. It says, now that women's boxing has garnered a little interest, what can boxing collectively do to further build women's boxing?
I'm not a proponent of women's boxing.
Your face says it all, Big Rick. Oh, geez, I almost knew the answer to that before I even put it. So I tell you what, ESPN and Top Rank just announced that they picked up and paid the licensing fee for Tony Oka versus Martin Bacoli in your 10-round heavyweight main event from Paris,
yes
France.
and no. Yes and no. They're the promoters of Tony Oka. So, and he's going to be, if he beats Martin Bacoli, he's going to be fighting in the United States later this summer. So it would make sense that they're picking up the licensing fee for it. Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's a no-brainer. My apologies. So, Rick, do you like this matchup? And do you think Tony Oka gets faster?
It's an excellent fight. It's an excellent fight of boxer puncher versus puncher. It's a good fight.
Yep, I think it's a great fight. Do you have any predictions for it?
Well, it can only end two ways. That Bacoli knocks him out, or Yoka probably wins a decision. One of the two is going to happen.
Indeed. I think it's a great fight. I think it's a great matchup, and credit to ESPN for picking this up from Paris, France, guys. It's going to take place earlier in the day this Saturday. We want to thank JD Vlanka for coming on the show. He says, do you think Virgil's injury was due to being too big for 147?
I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I don't know what exactly happened. It's all rumors and speculation. So I don't want to comment on rumor and speculation when, it's just, it was whatever what the problem was. It was unfortunate.
There it is. We want to thank you, Rick, for joining us and providing insight. We have one final question for you, sir, before we bid you an excellent evening. And it's from our brother Haplotype. Welcome to the show, sir. He says, does Mr. Glaser have any insight into why Spence Crawford hasn't been made to date? Apologies if he's already answered that, just tuning in. Well, he doesn't mind going over it again.
No, I don't mind going over it again, but to help him, my name is spelled with an S, not a Z. I'm not Polish. I'm German.
And there it is, Rick Glaser with an S.
Okay, so it hasn't been made because Spence is very reluctant due to the partially probably due to the car accident, now the eye situation. I don't know, but I just don't see him fighting. I just don't see him fighting Crawford. I just don't see it. If it does happen, it'll happen maybe next year, but it ain't happening this year. I can't see it. I don't think he's got the gumption. After he beat, I believe, Danny Garcia, okay, one of the Showtime announcers inside the ring after the fight was over. So what do you think? Terrence Crawford's going to challenge you. Is challenging you to a fight next, blah, blah, blah. I don't know nothing about that. All I'm going to do is go back to my ranch and play with my horses and my chickens. Now, just to let you know, that if they would have said that, if the announcer would have said that to Marvelous Marvin Hagler, okay, Marvelous Marvin Hagler says, where is that bastard? I want to tear his head off and shit in his neck. He turned to Arab and said, Bob, make that fight. Give me that fight.
I love it. But once again, it's so what let me ask you this, Rick, and be as candid as you possibly can.
Why am I ever not?
No, and that's what we love about you on the show, sir. So where does Al Heyman, his actually seemingly short leash on all of his fighters in determining who they fight, how does that factor?
I don't think he wants. Even if he'll have options on Crawford, I don't think he'd want to do the fight, because if Crawford destroys Spence, which many think he will, then his whole PBC will look like a fraud.
Wow.
Different angle, isn't that?
Yeah, I haven't heard that one yet.
Well, am I wrong? Think about
it. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So Haplotype apologizes. He says, Glaser, it autocorrects to Z. My bad.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, I lied. One final question from Hyphy. He's got a lot of good ones today. He says, if Andrade were to lose to Parker upon becoming a free agent, would his career literally be over as no one would want to sign him?
Pretty much. Pretty much.
Okay, so let me ask you this question, Rick. Do you think this fight actually happens still? Or do you think this you think his shoulder injury is well, once again, I don't mean to challenge.
I don't see
you know
I don't see I don't see the fight happening, but listen, Zach Parker is a huge, physically big, huge 68, like a David Benavides type, and he can really punch.
Yep.
Okay. And I don't see why Dmitry, an undefeated guy who's currently a champion, be it 160, wants to go to 68, is going to go journey over to the UK and go on, take this young buck, hard punching guy who switch hits lefty and righty and is tall and everything that what's his name is not. I just don't see it. That makes no sense to me at all.
Yep. So you and I are like-minded. I don't think this fight happens. And to be honest with you, yeah, I think the shoulder injury was fabricated, to be honest with you.
Of course it was. Of course it was.
Yeah. And there you have it, guys. Hyphy says, good hearing from you, Rick. Keep feeding the Glaser haters. Indeed. And our brother Big Luke from New York says, Rick, you'd make a fine poll. And there it is. Rick, do you have any parting shots for our listening audience, sir?
Anybody wants to follow me on Twitter, it's at Real Rick Glaser 1. There's a couple fake Rick Glaser accounts out there. I've got 4,400 followers, so that's the one. It's at Real Rick Glaser 1. Appreciate anybody who follows me, and I answer all questions on Twitter. Okay.
And there it is. Thank you so much, Rick, for all of your time and your insight. We appreciate you being on the show at this short notice. God bless you, brother. And guys, in case you missed any part of the show, it'll be available on demand as soon as we sign off. But on behalf of Rick Glaser, I'm Joseph Herron. You've been listening to War Week Radio. Have a great evening, everybody. Woo!
Undisputed pound-for-pound entertainment and ferocious promotions proudly present international boxing agent, broker, and consultant Rick Glaser.